Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. Some important stories to the fore this week. Let's just start by having a collective sigh of relief that Donald Trump hasn't started any new wars this week. So this is something positive, something we can all sort of rally around, sort of a good, feel-good thought that Donald Trump hasn't started a new war this week, although he is certainly trying hard to start more new wars. Our peace president, who got a Nobel Peace Prize from, well, he didn't really win it. It was given to him by a CIA puppet called Maria Corina Machado from Venezuela. But it was meant to recognize what a peaceful president Donald Trump is. I mean, seriously, people, if you believe that, we'll get on to the business of this. Plus, the Epstein files release as well. So we got a lot of ground to cover during this first segment. Unbelievable support from our audience, from you, the listeners, everybody in the chat room as well. You guys have really stepped up. You've donated. You subscribed to become a member at 21wire.tv, which is just over $5 per month. Very inexpensive, but it goes a long way in supporting this independent media platform. 21stcenturywire.com, all of our 8 or 9 channels across social media and video sharing platforms as well. We've got all that, plus the daily content, the original articles, the interviews at 21stcenturywire.com. All of that's what you're supporting by donating and getting involved during this winter fundraising drive. We're nearly there. We hope to hit our goal. We hoped by the end of the month, January. Didn't quite make it, but we're going to keep things rolling for another week in February. I think we're going to hit our target this week. I'm pretty sure. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. And if we even go over that, it would be even more amazing. And because of that, we've been able to do some incredible things already. And you've seen our new account, our new channel on Upscrolled. This is the new sort of alternative to TikTok. This is already rolling, as well as new news features that we've released on Instagram and some of the other social media platforms as well. We're featuring articles as well as short videos now. So there's a lot going on. That's just the beginning. And we'll be doing some on-the-ground reporting because of the winter fundraising drive. We might have to announce that next week. We won't tell you what on-the-ground reporting we're going to do, but you might just see us there on location. And that's all because of the support you guys have given us. So I just want to say amazing, and keep it coming. If you like what we do, if you like this type of content that we do, and you like the fact that we've been at it for 15 years and we're not stopping, and we're getting stronger, and our team is really getting better as well. And so if this type of thing you want to see more of, and you want to see us grow and expand this year, please get involved. This is your chance. This helps us to set our budget for the next year, 2026. It's been incredible. So thank you guys so much. Everybody who has stepped up, we really appreciate it. So the day the Epstein files, or the week the Epstein files are dropped, millions of new files, we'll show you those in a minute. And at the same time, Trump is desperate to bomb Iran, to start a war with Iran, clearly on behalf of a foreign government. This White House, Donald Trump's administration, is under 100% control of Israel. All foreign policy decisions that have anything to do with the Middle East, and I would even throw Venezuela into that as well, maybe even further afield. Everything is directed by the Israeli lobby, and which is directed by Benjamin Netanyahu's office. Okay, that's the sad state of affairs for the United States of America in 2026. Is we are not sovereign. Our government is not sovereign. Is under the complete control of a foreign entity. This president is so compromised. And if you look at some of the revelations in the Epstein files, you begin to see why Donald Trump is so compromised. and why we're fighting wars on behalf of Israel. This president is allowed to be in power because he is so compromised, because he is so beholden to these shadowy, nefarious figures like the one right behind him in this picture, who was working for Israeli intelligence and probably also pawning off intelligence to the CIA, Jeffrey Epstein, and probably pawning it off to British intelligence as well. No doubt about that, with Ghislaine Maxwell, his partner, her father being a double or triple agent, Robert Maxwell. And so that's the sad state of affairs. And what's sadder is when confronted about this, Donald Trump called it a Democrat conspiracy theory just a few months ago. He says, why is everybody talking about the Epstein files? It's made up. I hardly met him. I met him a few times. He's a creep. Who is this? No one talks about this guy. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? That's what Trump was trying to push just a few months ago. Ignore this. Don't look. There's nothing happening here. Nothing with Jeffrey Epstein. No, he's a nobody. It turns out these two guys were best buddies. These two guys partied together. These two guys rode on their private jets together, gallivanting around the Caribbean, gallivanting around New York to Florida, all the private Eyes Wide Shut parties or whatever they got up to, with their other elite political figures and captains of industry, heads of business, Bill Gates, Israeli intelligence heads, U.S. presidents, Bill Clinton, Hollywood actors, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, all these other people. The names are endless. Alan Dershowitz, and so on and so forth. All of these people. The list is endless. And Trump wanted us to think there's nothing there. Why is everybody pushing this hoax? It's not a hoax. Well, it's clearly not a hoax. But it says a lot about this president who sold himself as one thing, but has turned out to be something completely different. Now, some might argue that they knew he was a fraud, and they knew that Trump was basically going to betray the American people. Okay, fair enough. You can have that position. But if you look at the state of the last administration, where you had a president who was already suffering from early onset dementia, who could barely walk, it was a national embarrassment. Stuttering, falling asleep, at times had trouble putting sentences together. I'm talking about Joe Biden. And who appointed a vice president who doesn't seem to have had any experience really doing anything in her short political career. 2 years in the Senate, appointed because she was a black female. We're talking about Kamala Harris. So the last Democratic administration, which most likely won the 2020 election by dubious means anyway, but put that aside, okay? And you look at what Biden unleashed, the absolute hell he unleashed in Gaza with Netanyahu, and the absolute hell of the proxy war in Ukraine. And you look at that and you think, plus all the censorship that was just rampant, running out of Washington with the Silicon Valley and big tech, okay? That, all these things together, it was an absolute unmitigated disaster. That disaster, the Democrats, by forcing this decrepit, old, senile man into the presidency, who was corrupt as the day is long, make no mistake about it, Hunter Biden, all the graft in Ukraine. Biden was compromised, absolutely. But they forced this disaster of a presidency on the American people, and that basically paved the way for the resurgence of Donald Trump, in 2024. And what the Democrats did was they created a monster. From Russiagate, which itself was a hoax. Okay. The Trump 2.0 wanted revenge. And it was so baying for revenge that it has transformed into the worst fascist government in the history of the United States, save maybe Abraham Lincoln's term. Lincoln was probably the biggest authoritarian fascist going, but at least he had the excuse of the Civil War at the time. And there's been other dubious and heavy-handed and corrupt U.S. presidents, but none of them hold a candle to Donald Trump. Okay, Trump 2.0 is not only a threat, existential threat to the United States as a constitutional republic. It's an existential threat to the world, because no other president seems to be determined to drive the United States and the world towards World War III than Donald Trump. That's beyond debate at this point. He's doing everything. Think about it. Donald Trump is doing everything. It is very much a repeat of Nazi Germany, in the sense that what Nazi Germany did was basically lay waste to the League of Nations. Okay. Donald Trump is trying to lay waste to the United Nations. Okay. Nazi Germany laid waste to any concept of international law or restraint in that sense. And Donald Trump is laying waste to international law and restraint by declaring or unlimited undeclared wars of aggression, much like Nazi Germany. So history is repeating itself a little bit, but the difference between Nazi Germany and the United States is Nazi Germany didn't have nuclear weapons. Donald Trump does, which makes him more dangerous. And Nazi Germany didn't exist in a multipolar world as such. Well, there were multiple poles of power. Now it's much more complex between China, Russia, India, BRICS, the U.S., Europe, Israel, and the emerging Greater Israel Pax Judaica project. It's a multipolar world with all of these poles nuclear armed, much more dangerous. And Trump is sitting there with a match and playing around, getting ready to ignite it. And he can't decide where and when he wants to do that, but he seems like a very confused and lost individual nonetheless. So we'll bring that back. Here he is. So the Epstein administration, now after 12 months, Epstein then moves into his second year. Trump moves into his second year as president, and he's already started. He's bombed 7 countries, and he started 3 new wars. Not bad for somebody who thinks that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. And here's the background. January 30th, DOJ releases millions of pages of documents in the Epstein investigation. And I'm looking through, a lot of these are allegations, of course. These are things that were filtering into the FBI's investigation, including public tips. So a lot of these might be, uncorroborated. It's not evidence per se. But some of the emails are very real. All these emails are very real. And we'll show you because it's interesting. And again, it's important to remind people. Donald Trump just a few months ago denied this was a thing. This is a president, and all of his lackeys, from J.D. Vance to everybody else, they campaigned on, and Kash Patel and everybody else, we're going to release the Epstein files. The Epstein files. And they got votes on that because they knew that was a absolute essential issue for Trump's MAGA base. And for conservative Republicans, they wanted to see this thing come out. Many people, independents, wanted this scandal to basically be exercised. Okay? Then Trump has the temerity to do an about face and claim it's a Democrat Party hoax just a couple months ago because he was panicking? Why was he panicking? Well, we know why. Just take a look at the material in here. So disingenuous, dishonest. This president is so dishonest. He thinks that he can just magic away anything that's illegal or a scandal, and just because if he just waves his hand and says it's a hoax in his deluded mind and the deluded minds of his supporters and his deranged cabinet, they think that this is just going to, evaporate. This is a huge embarrassment for the United States because what the world now knows is that the U.S. is not independent, that Israel was running blackmail operations against the top U.S. oligarchs and politicians and international political figures as well. So when you look at U.S. foreign policy and look at the things the United States is doing in the world, you then have to come back to this. And you say, why is this happening? It's because partly, if not all, because of this. Why is everybody so quiet about Israel massacring Palestinians on an industrial scale over the last two years? It's because of this. It's because of this. So let's take a look at some of these items here. You probably, if you've been on X or social media, there are fakes being put out, by the way. People are punting fakes. So you do have to rely on some media outlets that have some accountability in terms of they have to put their reputation on the line as to, whether social media accounts or anonymous accounts on X have nothing to lose by putting out fakes or just basically retweeting or copying and pasting fakes. And a lot of people don't even know they're pushing altered documents. But what's important to understand is when something like this drops, that the people who want to discredit this leak or this release of documents or in this type of situation, they will insert fakes. They'll insert fakes, fake emails, lots of forgeries. They'll do that to basically reduce the overall public confidence about any particular claims, and it injects the seed of doubt that what they're looking at might be altered or fake. That's the sort of catch-22 with the modern digital age, is it's also very easy to inject things that will damage the confidence of any breaking story. And certainly the people who are implicated in this, it would be in their interest to do that, including the Israeli bot farm and the MAGA bot farm. I wouldn't put it past the Trump administration to be doing things to undermine this story. Now, this is where it gets interesting, okay? And new documents reveal the breadth of Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. And you can go to Politico, and the thing about mainstream media outlets on this is they'll probably be at least double checking that what they're putting out is, on this story anyway, is going to be accurate because it's document based. But Elon Musk is the interesting piece here, because this is a guy that always puts himself out as based and smarter than everybody, and he's sort of an open racist. He pushes out very divisive, xenophobic, material on a platform that he controls the algorithm, which prioritizes his politics and toxic actors like Tommy Robinson. Okay, openly fascistic figures. So Elon pretends to be above the fray, and he used to make jokes about the Epstein files, but maybe he didn't realize that he is implicated in this. Elon's up to his neck in it, okay? And let's take a look at just how deep. And this is interesting, because Elon said publicly, back when this story broke, he said, I was invited to the island, Little St. James, for the parties, but I refused. I'm above all that. I refused, said Elon. It turns out that's not true. He was likely lying. to make himself look good. That's what it looks like from some of the emails that have dropped here. This is from Jeffrey Epstein from Elon Musk to his friend Jeff. Elon and Jeff were very, very close friends. Very close, as you can see. Buddies here. So who's coming to the party? Probably just Tallulah and me. What day and night will be the wildest party on your island? Asks Elon Musk to his friend, who he claims to have not known, Jeffrey Epstein. Isn't that interesting? So interesting, isn't it? And here, this is from Jeff. This is from my buddy Jeff, Elon's buddy Jeff, his best buddy, and Christmas and New Year's party, wild sex parties, or whatever they get up to. And Jeffrey says, bad news, Elon. Unfortunately, my schedule will keep me in New York. I was really looking forward to finally spending some time together with just fun as the agenda. Wow. So I'm very disappointed. Hopefully we can schedule another time in the near future. And this is a reply to Elon's previous email that said, actually, I could fly back early on the 3rd. We will be in St. Bart's in the Caribbean. When should we head to your island? On the 2nd? Oh my goodness. So yeah, they're making plans, making plans for big wild parties. I'm sure it's nothing. It's probably totally innocent because, it's Jeff Epstein. So there can't be anything untoward going on. That's impossible. It's Jeff. Jeff's a really straight guy, and everybody knew Jeff. Everyone vouched for him. He's a good guy. He's friends with Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, best buddies with Elon Musk and Trump. It's probably nothing there. So why am I even, speculating? Why are we even talking about why is Politico reporting on this? There's nothing there, of course. It's Jeff. Trump said he didn't know anything. Trump said it was a Democratic Party hoax, so it must be. It must be a Democrat hoax because Trump said there's nothing here. So we shouldn't be, why bother with any of this? So a perfect distraction, of course, would be a war. So we're calling this Trump's latest war because Trump likes starting wars and kidnapping heads of state and making up fake stories about narco-terrorism to justify blatantly illegal acts, abusing the power of the U.S. government and military to carry out jobs for, on behalf of the drug cartels or on behalf of Israel, or who knows. Those are the only people that seem to be the beneficiaries of these Trump operations. So here's another one, Iran. But this one's more dangerous, you see, because this one has the potential to trigger a thermonuclear war with multiple state actors involved. And that's the problem. Wouldn't it be a beautiful and glorious distraction to this domestic situation that Trump is currently presiding over, which is a total debacle? Look at what's happened in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, a disaster. No doubt about it, a total disaster. Fascist Gestapo thugs, his own NKVD police force, with huge public pushback. We'll show you the poll numbers from Trump. It's over. Folks, the bottom fell out. It's over. MAGA's finished. Done. So why is he going around trying to start World War III? The American people certainly don't want it, but Netanyahu needs it. The Netanyahu regime, his best buddy, he needs it. Netanyahu needs to drag Trump to do the heavy lifting, to strike Iran, to save Netanyahu's regime, to save this genocide in Gaza project, to pave the way for Jared Kushner's Dubai on the Med, paving over Gaza and all the dead bodies to build luxury resorts. I mean, these people are just satanic. The things that they're doing in broad daylight are beyond shocking. Okay? They both need this. Both Trump and Netanyahu need this. They need this war. For Trump, it's an existential issue. For his administration, it's the only thing they can do. It also will cover up the collapse of the U.S. dollar, which we'll show you as well, which is happening now. Okay, this president in a year has been the biggest train wreck in United States history. I mean, if this continues at this pace, then I'd say probably better to bring back Sleepy Joe. Bring back Sleepy Joe in a wheelchair. With a hearing aid and the convalescent staff. I mean, that's probably less risky, really, for the U.S. than this guy, who is just so blatantly corrupt at this point, so blatantly reckless. He's basically screaming. We'll show you. He's bloviating about the Iranians. Look at this. This is just adolescent. I don't know who's writing these tweets. Is it Trump? Is it Don Jr.? Is it Dan Scavino, who used to run the golf pro shop at the Trump golf course? Who is it? Is it Marco Rubio? Is it Pete Hegseth? Is it some, who's writing this? He says, a massive armada is heading towards Iran. It's moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. What purpose? What purpose? It's the largest fleet ever, the biggest ever, the best ever, says Trump. Bigger than the one we sent to Venezuela. That's scam. And like Venezuela, it is ready and willing and able to rapidly fulfill its mission. What mission? What mission? What mission? 3 weeks ago, it was, we're going to attack Iran to protect the democratic protesters. And then it was revealed these weren't democratic protesters. They were being directed by U.S., Israeli, and likely British intelligence. And they were armed, and they were violent, and they were burning down mosques. They burned hundreds of banks. They killed hundreds, if not more, innocent civilians. Hundreds of police officers in Iran. These foreign actors, and the MEK terrorists, which our government in the U.S. has backed, funded, and trained. And they run a base in Albania, and then they deploy their assets inside Iran for terrorist attacks. Okay? Not to mention U.S.-backed ISIS and Al-Qaeda actors as well. So that's all been revealed. So, but that was the basis of the attack. Oh, Iran's massacring democratic, peaceful protesters. And all of a sudden, that's gone because it was totally exposed, completely debunked. And now Trump is saying that, it's about nuclear weapons. So he bombed Iran 7-8 months ago and said, we're doing this to keep them from getting nuclear weapons. And then after he did it, he said, we've done it. We've destroyed their nuclear program. Victory. Yay. 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 And now, 6-7 months later, saying, no, well, actually, we didn't destroy it. And we're going to go back in because of the nukes. And next week, it'll be something different. Next week, it's the ballistic missiles. Oh, yeah, it's their missiles. They can't have missiles. He's already pushing this New Deal now, which means they have to give up missiles. They have to break their country into 5 regions. They have to get rid of their government. What else? They can't have nuclear power. They can't sell oil. So basically, you must voluntarily go into the Stone Ages because Trump and Netanyahu believe that's better and it makes them feel more safe. While Israel's massacring people and bombing all of its neighbors. I mean, this is just a joke at this point. This presidency in America is just turning into such a farce. And this is the state of this president. He's all over the place. He wants to start World War III and he can't decide why. He can't decide what the mission is. And he's roped along some of these military people. He's put a Fox News host in charge of the Pentagon. And he's roped in some of these people, probably with promises of riches and fame. But that's what you're looking at, folks. How much of our foreign policy is because of Israeli blackmail? And his relationship, he's best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. They were so close. Donald Trump is denying it like it was just some throwaway. I met him a few times. No, you didn't. You knew him very well. And unfortunately, this means Israel has an incredible amount of control over the U.S. government. And Israel will be very happy to see the U.S. go to war. And so this is the question. Is it, will this president, is he reckless enough? Is he that much under the thumb of the Israelis to bring this about? That's the big question. Either allowing Israel to use nukes or the United States using nukes, or pushing Iran, pushing all of your aircraft carriers into the Persian Gulf, asking to be hit, or basically begging Israel to launch a false flag like it did the USS Liberty in 1967 during the Six-Day War, to blame it on Egypt, to drag the United States into that war further. And Israel killed dozens of U.S. soldiers and sailors to try to make that story stick. That's how ruthless they were. And guess what? Nothing was done to Israel for that. The U.S. just took it took it in the rear. Incredible. So is it worth it? Is World War III worth it? Just so we can say we stand with Israel, is it worth it? Is global annihilation, the destruction of the global economy, just because of this? Is it worth it? A lot of people will say no. Most people will say no. I think an extreme minority of people will say, yes, it's worth it. We need to defend Israel. Certainly the crazy evangelical cult members who are like begging for the end times scenario to come about, and they believe that this relationship with Israel will hasten the coming of the Messiah, etc. Dispensationalist, complete quackery, but they want to have that self-fulfilling prophecy. So you've got those people, and nut jobs like Mike Huckabee, the current ambassador to Israel from the U.S., who is one of the most unimpressive adults I've ever encountered in my life. I mean, he is just thick as a pallet of bricks. And not only that, he is a total evangelical dispensationalist fanatic, basically. The last person you'd want in a diplomatic position. But of course, that's who Israel requested, and that's what they got, because they run our foreign services, they run our foreign policy, they select all the members of Trump's cabinet. Yes, they did. So meanwhile, while this is going on, foreign central banks are now holding more gold than U.S. treasuries. So just like that, folks, just like that, the U.S. dollar, everybody is fleeing the U.S. dollar. Why? Why are they fleeing the U.S. dollar? Look at that. Gold is the new reserve currency globally. And guess who has accumulated the best reserves for gold in the last 10 years, quietly? China and Russia. China and Russia. They were planning for a rainy day, and that rainy day came. Because they knew the United States, and Donald Trump particularly, has made it so unpredictable. He's running the economy so hot. Threats of tariffs, threats of sanctions. He's accelerated the demise of the dollar. Everyone's dumping their dollars because they don't know what this United States is going to do. Oh, you won't let us take Greenland? Oh, we're gonna threaten you with tariffs, maybe sanctions. Why would you want to hold any U.S. dollars with this presidency? It's a disaster. It's a disaster, and everybody knows it. Now you can't hide it. Trump says the dollar's doing great. Just the other day. I don't have the clip. Maybe we'll show it in the overdrive. Oh, the dollar's really strong. So he says that. Of course it is, Donald. Of course it is. Here's Mike Adams, health ranger. Gold is the new reserve currency. Treasuries are being dumped everywhere. It's true. Look at that. But the Richard Wolff, see, that's the collapse. So gold, you have to understand the relationship here. Correctly here, Richard Wolff, economist, USSR's decline left the United States empire to reach its peak. We're talking about late 80s, early 90s. At that time, the World Central Bank exchanged their gold for U.S. dollar treasuries. Now, as the U.S. empire goes into decline, right, after 2000 and China rises, those same banks are shifting from U.S. treasuries to gold, ladies and gentlemen. And no amount of fancy dancing by Trump can make that happen. Look at that. This is apocalyptic, folks. This is apocalyptic. And so what does it mean? What's Trump's way out? He wants to lower interest rates. He wants to get the printing press going. That's Trump's plan. He is wanting to fire the Fed chairman of the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve doesn't want to create an inflationary cycle and a further disaster for the dollar. Trump doesn't care. Trump's like, yeah, let's just fire up the printing press and let's really make this dollar crash, right? And this is a great cartoon someone sent me this week. He said, imagine working 9 till 5 for 50 years, then the Fed prints 40% of the total money supply and inflates away 20 years of your hard work. That's right. So your money and your retirement buys less because of the fiscal and monetary policy of the U.S. government. And think about COVID. That happened during COVID. This happened, and Trump is doing it here. So Trump is he wants to make Americans poorer by imposing a hidden inflation tax so that he and his buddies can land softly and scoop up real assets while the dollar is still worth something. That's what's happening, folks. That's what's happening. Now, what's Trump's reaction to this? This clip, I just honestly, a U.S. president talking like this, he's someone who's supposed to be knowledgeable about business, or, you think he'd know something about economics. Listen to this buffoon. We're gonna play this in a minute. Hold on, let me bring up this video clip. So Trump's talking about the housing market, and I've never heard anything this. I don't want to use a bad word here, but I'm not going to use the R word. But anyway, you make up your own mind.
Existing housing, people that own their homes, we're going to keep them wealthy. We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody that didn't work very hard can buy a home. We're going to make it easier to buy. We're going to get interest rates down. But I want to protect the people that for the first time in their lives feel good about themselves. They feel like that they're wealthy people. And I want them to understand it. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up.
So he claims to be champion of the working class. And on one side, out of one side of his mouth, he's saying we want to make it easier to buy homes. But then he's saying, but we want to drive housing prices up. So what he's saying is, he wants people who can't afford a home to somehow get onto another subprime mortgage scam cycle with low interest rates, huge amount of debt, inflated prices, unsecured loans. That's Trump's solution. We already had 2008 Donald. The banks did very well out of that. They got bailed out. Again, he is driving the dollar into the ground. That's all this president has left. This guy, honestly, is economically illiterate. As a U.S. president, it's pretty bad.
The people that own their homes, and they can be assured that's what's going to happen.
My God, let's hear that again, because you have to hear this again.
They're wealthy people. And I want them to understand it. You know, there's so much talk about, oh, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up for people that own their homes. And they.
So he only cares about people that own their homes. He wants to drive housing prices up. He wants to win votes by like thinking he can inflate the value of their homes. And at the same time, he's saying that, you know, poor people who can't afford a home should be able to feel like they're rich. What the hell is he talking about? This guy is completely out of his mind. You know, Biden was crazy and senile. We know this. With Trump, he doesn't seem senile, but he's crazy. Slightly different. And I mean, so that's the state of the U.S. presidency. Like, that's where they're at in terms of economics. Here's Peter Schiff. He's always been very, very bullish on gold. And let me see if I can bring this up. So this is what Schiff was saying. This is what happened this week.
Gold is now pulling the rug out from under the U.S. The dollar is going to collapse. The dollar is going to be replaced by gold. Central banks are buying gold to back up their currencies. They're getting rid of dollars. They're getting rid of treasuries. We are headed for an economic crisis, again, that will make the 2008 financial crisis look like a Sunday school picnic. The biggest difference between the crisis that we're about to have and the one we had back then is this one is all in America. It's not going to be exported to the rest of the world. It's not a global financial crisis. It's an American financial crisis.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know, if you're a real conservative, which Trump is not, okay, and none of these MAGA, like yahoos, they're not real conservatives. If they're real conservatives, they'd be wanting to cool down this hyperinflationary cycle and transition to some sane monetary and fiscal policy, if they were real conservatives. Peter Schiff is definitely conservative in that respect. And too bad he's not advising the Trump administration. So they just want to get their scam stable coins, central bank digital currencies. That's what Trump is pushing. Okay, he's got the tech bros, the oligarchs behind him, and they're all like licking their chops right now about just basically cratering the economy. These people, because they've already repositioned all of their money and they're just going to ride the wave because people with capital can do that. So, but here's the results, folks. When Trump's, you know, oh, I'm going to drive housing prices up. Result, total collapse of Trump's working class 2024 voter support base. Look at those numbers. Disapproval rate, 61%. And among independent voters, it's almost down to zero. You cannot win any elections going forward. MAGA is a toxic waste dump. Trump is sold out. He's betrayed his base, and he has betrayed the American people. I think he's just given up on being a leader for the American people. He seems to he's only wanting to lead or people that agree with him or whatever his crazy policies are. Everybody else he holds in utter contempt and literally sends secret masked police over to intimidate or worse, those Americans, people who don't agree with him or don't think he's great. So the whole thing is collapsed. The poll numbers don't lie, folks. This is a disaster, and it's only getting worse. It's getting worse. This will be, if he's not already, in just a few months' time, this will be the most unpopular president in the history of the United States of America since polling began. That's how bad it's getting. Worse than Biden. Again, you'll be praying for Biden to come back at this rate. This is a train wreck. This is a train wreck. So what does Trump do to, regain confidence? Well, he's wanting to get rid of the Fed chairman because he won't do what Donald wants. So he's going to replace him. So here's the guy he's going to replace it with. Who's this guy? Who is this guy? This is Trump's pick for the new Fed chairman. Trump is preparing to nominate Kevin Warsh, who happens to be the son-in-law of Ronald Lauder and a former steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group. Oh, my God. To be the new Federal Reserve chairman? Are you kidding me? Bilderberg head? New Fed chairman? I mean, what happened to Donald Trump's fighting the globalists? Like Alex Jones says every 5 seconds. He's fighting the globalists. What's this? Looks like the globalists. Looks like the globalists are in charge of everything now with Trump. He hasn't wasted any time. He's got all of the globalists, the technocrats, the monopolists, and the oligarchs basically in control of everything, and Israel. Those are the globalists. It's not the UN. It's not even George Soros, although he's got Soros's financial brain as head of the U.S. Treasury, Scott Bessent. I mean, no one in MAGA pushed back against that. Looks like the globalists have won. Looks like Donald Trump is the face of the globalists. Donald Trump is the spearhead of the globalists. He has fast-tracked the agenda for the globalists. Donald Trump. Not the radical left. They're all screaming. That's what's happened. Look at this. Bilderberg, new head of the Fed. But he's the son-in-law of Ronald Lauder. Who's Ronald Lauder? Ronald Lauder, is that the same Ronald Lauder? This one? The billionaire who has told Trump to grab Greenland. That's the guy. That's the guy. Heir to the Estee Lauder fortune. That's it, Lauder. Also, just happens to be the president of Israel's most powerful global lobbying institution, the World Jewish Congress. And he's an Israeli mega donor alongside Epstein's cash cow, Les Wexner, that same guy. And his son-in-law is going to be head of the Fed because Trump. Because Trump. Wow. Oh boy, Trump's really sticking it to the globalists, isn't he? Oh, yeah. Donald, you're really giving the globalists a hard time. You know, that's kind of what it boils down to, folks. This is all the same circle of people. Same circle. Mega group, mega donors, billionaire class, Israeli lobbyists, Mary Madelson, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Ronald Lauder. It's an elite club, folks. It's an elite club, and they are doing their level best to level the global economy and the United States, as well as Europe and probably everywhere else if they have their way. Everything is a heaping pile of steaming ash except for Israel, if these people have their way. Pretty incredible stuff, isn't it? And meanwhile, we'll throw this out there. The EU's declared the IRGC a terrorist organization, Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Iran's Revolutionary Guard never attacked Europe. And to anyone's documentation, we can't find any terrorist events. But they've done it. Why? Because the Israel lobby has instructed Brussels to do so with pressure from the U.S. That's how it works, folks. They're prepping the ground to make it seem okay to attack Iran because they claim they're a terrorist state. The biggest terrorist government sponsor of state sponsor of terror is the United States of America. There's no one even close. No one even close. And their allies as well. Their Gulf state allies bankrolling the whole thing. So that's where we're at, folks. And sorry to break the bad news to you, you know. But, like, it's better to be realistic about these things than to be sort of delusional. But that's the best we can do. Look, let's break right now and link up with our colleagues for a brief overdrive segment. I'm Patrick Henningsen. You are watching and listening to the Sunday Wire, episode 580. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand, to hate their fellow man, another man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power, no matter what. Play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gamble your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Corruption and lies. Truth is the crime, will turn to dust. Well-designed misery to keep you on edge, make you believe anything anyone says. Keep it left or right, not top to bottom. Accuse the victim, can't you see we got 'em? Stay in power, no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to dust. We've captured rights. Feudal time will turn to dust. To dust. Industrialized brutality, commercialized cruelty. People as commodity, cheer on war atrocity.